Xbox has broken the internet. The last few weeks, months, it's been a little distracting with a lot of folk probably trying their best to detract from what the gaming industry is seeing right now as a significant amount of change. Xbox has been under a lot of scrutiny lately. And the only way they were going to be able to come from underneath the cloud of such negative attention was to execute. And not just execute, but execute in a way that really did drown out the plethora of noise from a lot of the detractors, the haters, and those who I think were entering this conversation from a bad faith perspective. As a PC gamer, one thing I will tell you is value is at the core of a gamer. If you've not gotten to the value proposition yet and you've been gaming, don't worry, you'll get there soon. When you look at your bank account and look at the way gaming is going, you're going to realize and say, come on, what am I spending money on with everything going on so far? And there's a lot of dissatisfaction in the industry. Once you ask that question, you'll shut your wallet and hold it tight until somebody comes to you with a very good proposal, a value that cannot be beaten. Then you be willing to give that person money. I think Xbox has basically cracked that formula. They have the staying power, they have the financial capability, and they have the wherewithal with Phil Spencer, somebody who understands gaming very well, to do it. At first, it didn't seem like Bethesda was a worthwhile buy. There were all these detractors that kept talking nonsense. Even I myself would not have seen Bethesda as some kind of a significant threat. But do you know that via Bethesda, Xbox has made some significant strides against a lot of the negative media lately? Let me run it back for you guys all the way as far back as Hi-Fi Rush. They shadow dropped that game right after they had gone ahead to acquire Bethesda. Then they announced that they were going to have Starfield, which was going to be locked as a timed exclusive on PlayStation to be an Xbox exclusive so far. And now they've gone ahead to shadow drop a 15-year-old classic. I would call this game a classic because I remember the very first time that I ever heard about this game was in the Xbox 360. I was talking to a youngin. He's no longer a youngin now. I remember then I was in college, but he was, a member of my church. And he looked at me and said, hey, man, I heard that somebody just gifted you an Xbox 360. And I said, yeah, what game should I play? And he had a bunch of games. It was like a teenager. He was like, hey, I got this game, this game, this game. And he said to me, this game, Oblivion, is a life suck. As I was streaming Oblivion today, one of my audience members, Yadazak, shout out to you, you said the exact same thing. And I was like, wow, I did not know that this game had so much street cred. So I wasn't even surprised, at first when I heard the news until I started to hear people say, yo, is Xbox really going to do this? And when they did it, they broke the PlayStation Store according to reports. The PlayStation Store was having issues loading because a lot of people were hitting the store trying to see if this game was available, and some have already gone ahead to buy the game. Now, with all of that noise that was being made a while back, you would have thought that Xbox was basically disappearing and dissipating from existence, not realizing that the real place in terms of basically fighting, in terms of competing in a market, is giving the consumer at the heart of everything what it is that they came here for: games. The fanboy nonsense, the talking point nonsense, and all of that stuff has always been really mediocre because it never really delved into the heart of what Xbox was playing at, which is going with an all-in mentality into the gaming side of things and ensuring that now, even when they cannot sell hardware, which is a fleeting entity, a fleeting metric, they can provide games to their audiences. Icarus has now launched a 15-year-old game to critical acclaim within one afternoon. Did you guys see what a, in quote, shadow drop did on the Steam DB? When I looked, I was surprised. I said to myself, this cannot be real. How does a game that shows up in the afternoon, now again, as somebody who did not play Oblivion, please allow for me to be surprised while you just yawn and say, come on now, VG, you're just learning this, these ropes and these streets. I get it. But how, in my mind, can a game which shows up in an afternoon after leaks and rumors and stuff, from my own eyewitnessing and screenshot that I took, rack up over 100,000 concurrent users on Steam? Not only that, while the game actually also exists on a subscription service for less money as well. This is a very interesting phenomenon at the end of the day. So on these two fronts, as I'm speaking to you, Xbox is basically not just eating, but winning. And I haven't stepped out of the PC space. This is where I game. This is my domain. I started downloading this on this particular PC. Let me go ahead and continue to download because I want to run benchmarks on all the hardware that I can get my hands on to benchmark this particular game. When we look at all of this, it seems like the whole plan is now coming together. The Netflix-ish of gaming is now starting to take its full shape. If you had a little bit of foresight, you could have seen it, but now you don't need that anymore. All you need is a sound mind, and you'll be able to see, not perceive, but see what kind of a gargantuan of an entity Xbox has put together. In fact, what's even interesting is just a week ago or so, Phil Spencer's in an interview saying the business model is not for everybody. But with this business model that they've set up, ladies and gentlemen, we now know that they have a business model that's available for anyone who may want to jump in there and actually go ahead and engage in the Xbox ecosystem. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and revisit the diagram. You remember the diagram that I always draw for you guys and sketch for you guys? It's Xbox's pillars diagram. And all what they use to make money and sustain their ecosystem. Sure, some games aren't going to hit. For instance, Avowed didn't seem like a massive hit, but it was a decent hit. Indiana Jones didn't seem like a massive hit, but it was a decent hit. But this game, it is without doubt already a big hit. I'm not saying massive hit, big hit. But again, it was shadow dropped. What could become of this game after the next few days or the next few weeks? So entity number one in maintaining their pillar and giving this company a sustainable methodology through their business is their Xbox platform. Now, you can say Xbox as a console, right? And then their Xbox platform as PC. That's a separate entity. You can't run away from that, right? Now, another entity in terms of, let's just call this app. Another way that they're going to basically, take over this gaming industry is via another entity called Steam. Now, many of you may or may not know, I do have friends. I know some of you here like, you make a lot of videos. I know one of my buddies, I just saw his notification on Steam. I'm not going to show you his gamer tag because we're not just friends. We're actually colleagues as well, like brothers. This is his, picture here on my little friends thing. And I was just basically looking around and I was playing Mortal Kombat. My Steam pops up saying he's playing the remaster on Steam. He's not going to use Game Pass. He doesn't mess with that kind of stuff. Bro is going to jump in there and buy the games because bro was a 360 player, loves RPGs, is already buying it. And I'm not going to be surprised if I see more people on my friends list going ahead to buy it. Another pillar that they're going to also leverage is the PlayStation pillar. This is where PlayStation pretty much and its users were successful in breaking, according to reports, that's what I heard, breaking the PlayStation website. When I say breaking, I mean they just kind of flooded it, made it slow. And so you put all these together, and then you have an Xbox ecosystem that's brewing somewhere. Then in the middle of here, I put these, little legs in all kinds of different positions anyways. And then in the middle of it, just bear with me. I don't know how to draw, man. Those of you who know how to draw, please avert thine eyes. You have their cloud gaming platform, which is capable of bringing in users to enjoy all of these benefits if they choose to do so. Then they also have a mobile platform, something that many people don't necessarily talk about when it comes out to it. Then they also have another one, which is coming pretty soon. And man, if Nintendo Switch 2 isn't, careful, Xbox is going to basically become and remain the biggest publisher on the Nintendo as well. With all of this together, it makes Xbox's business proposition sound sensible and look exactly like what we've been predicting that it will be. I have been predicting this. I said very soon, you're not going to be hearing about PlayStation in the airwaves, simply because PlayStation made investment decisions that has put them exactly where they are right now. I'm not saying that PlayStation is going to basically fade away, but in terms of relevance, it's hard to beat the guy that's actually launching games. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard. If you're a gaming company and you're not launching games like the other guy, which was a huge deficiency in comparison when you look at PlayStation and Xbox, it's hard to beat them. as much as PlayStation may want to go out there and money hack games, I said to y'all on the Xbox side, you're not going to remember these games that are blocked from coming to Xbox. Why? Xbox is a 4X publisher. So the power of 4 is what Xbox is basically harnessing inside under the Microsoft banner. They got the King, they got the Activision, they got the Blizzard, they got the Xbox Game Studios, and they got Bethesda. Now, I put King in a little corner there because, and I said 4, but they're a publisher on their own, but that's in mobile. So if you're playing on Xbox, that doesn't relate to you. However, Activision, Blizzard, Xbox Game Studios, and Bethesda are the 4 that serve your console. So with all of them launching, even if they launch 1 game a year on average, they still bring out 3 games a year overall, of which at their capacity, more than 3 games a year should basically be the standard for them. Some people think this is shocking, but Ubisoft has been doing this for many years. Ubisoft has got a lot of studios, but Ubisoft, remember in 2020 when people were struggling to launch games, Ubisoft launched 3 games. Yes. And so I'm not shocked that Xbox, in fact, I'm actually surprised that Xbox is not on the cadence of 3 AAA games and then some small games annually. But that might not be possible because of the nature of the studios that they've acquired. But when you bring it all down, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in a very interesting place. I think right now, it's a time for anybody who may be playing on the PlayStation ecosystem and Xbox ecosystem as well to evaluate exactly what it is they're doing here. Does this work for you? Is this something that you think you can participate in and engage in? Even those who are playing on Game Pass, you got to think about the reality. This actually puts Game Pass and makes it a little bit more valuable, which opens the door for a price increase. So be ready for that as well. Or are you in a position where you're willing to spend money on these games, and is Xbox bringing quality in terms of games, which is subjective? So that would be something based on you and your assessment. But when we think about it overall, I think the strategy is now starting to make sense. And the so-called console war having been dead is much more apparent now because the console never really does make anything. It's the games that do the job. I think Xbox is doing the job. And in this particular case, I think Phil Spencer really is owed his flowers by all of the detractors. I told y'all that if you guys had better ideas, you'd be running the gaming arm of Microsoft. But seems like Phil, as unassuming as he may be, the jeans and t-shirt and jacket wearing Phil Spencer seemingly is kind of smart. And if you don't believe it, don't worry. Sit back and relax. And then let's see how the rest of this 2025 release cycle goes, because it seems like you're not drowning in games yet. That's why you still have any room to doubt. Anyways, I'll talk to you in the comment section. Talk to me in the comment section. Appreciate y'all so much. Peace out.